Cayde 6 has been through a lot, converting from human to exo, losing family members he barely remembered, and being forced to stay in the tower in Destiny 1.
I've got to get out of this tower and back out there.
Today we are going to discuss what may happen to Cayde in Destiny 2's next major content release this fall.
As in, you heard those exact words coming out of Zavala's mouth?
Yes, we did.
Please tell me you recorded it!
Hey everyone, hope you are doing well. Thanks for tuning in to today's video, and I'm excited to talk about what we have regarding Cayde. So first, I want you to think about something real quick. In Destiny, has there ever been a major death? Guardians have died, that's nothing new, but in terms of prominent characters we see all the time, I don't think we've experienced something like that. Take Destiny 2's campaign for example. Everyone survived the Red Legion attack, and we see them in the new tower now. Some people aren't there like Eva Levante who, did all the shaders in Destiny 1, but we know she's not dead, she's just elsewhere because some scannables tell us that. So in this game so far, everything's been pretty good. We're always, overcoming these giant challenges, and nobody has died that's very important and close to our character. This next brings up some interesting plot points involving Cayde 6 and what might happen in the fall expansion. So let's zoom back to the release of Destiny 2 back in September. Now there were some audio files that were datamined there discussing Cayde's death and how many people around the tower were sad about his departure.
Cayde's death is upon us. What will you do with that knowledge, I wonder?
He wasn't aligned with our greater goals, but Cayde was a friend and an ally. He will be missed. He wasn't leadership material, but Cayde was a good man, machine or otherwise.
Simulations predicted Cayde's departure, but not what came after.
So pretty weird, right? They talk about how Cayde's death happened and that he lost his battle with the Red Legion and that he is no longer there. Now in the campaign we do see that all three members of the Vanguard are sort of struggling towards the end of the game, and they tell us to board the command ship and finish Gaul once and for all. You got Zavala sitting over there on the floor, Ikora hanging over a railing, and Cayde 6 just chilling there with his foot missing. So it is quite possible that Bungie could have originally planned to kill off Cayde in Destiny 2, but decided to go a different direction, and perhaps this is what happened instead. He lost his foot. Next, what amps this up even more is the release of Warmind. So when the expansion dropped, or just an hour before, some audio files were datamined and I was listening to a bunch of those. Now it's these specific audio files that reference Cayde 6, but in a different way. Take a listen.
I've heard the rumors. Cayde 6, the bounty hunter, the exo who brings justice. But justice is nothing before duty. Someday, the Hunter Vanguard will roll snake eyes one too many times. And we won't be there to bail him out. Cayde's attendance was infrequent before the Red War. Now we barely see him at all. Every week, I see more reports of his ship making unsanctioned flights all over the system. There are too many for me to read.
So those lines sound a little different compared to the ones at launch, right? To me, if this was in fact going to happen, it seems like Bungie could have planned to kill off Cayde in the vanilla story, and that didn't really happen, so they could have been like, hey, let's not kill Cayde, but make him disappear and go away for a while. Now that could be pretty interesting, like maybe he goes away for some reason, comes back, and has this heroic sort of moment that saves our Guardian. That'd be pretty cool in a future title. But the thing is, it wasn't implemented in Warmind either. So I was sitting there listening to these, an hour before the expansion came out. I'm like, whoa, what if something happens to Cayde in Warmind and he's not here anymore? I then played through it and realized that, these weren't even referenced at all, and made me think that this could have something to do with the fall expansion. Of course, we don't know that, but with all these files, I wanted to make a video and get your opinions. But regarding the plot, what would these lines be referencing? Why would Cayde simply just leave? Zavala's lines told us that he was flying all over the system, so something crazy could have happened. Something that came to my head when thinking about all of this was the fact that Cayde's an exo. If he did somehow die or something went wrong, he could just be rebooted. He'd be brought back to some extent, but things would not be the same. Take a listen to this new exo dialogue found in the Warmind Braytech Law sector, and then we'll talk.
Early experiments in exoscience managed to encode the human consciousness into a form that could be processed digitally. At the time, we believed that was the big hurdle to overcome in the creation of the exo. Little did we know, the real challenge would be the phenomenon known as dissociative exomind rejection. Nascent proto-exos developed serious symptoms of cognitive disorder that eventually led to death. It turned out the human mind would not reconcile its presence in a new body. It took multiple iterations in design, but the Clovis Bray Corporation eventually developed several solutions. The first is to reboot the mind once it has been transferred, allowing it to awaken inside its new shell as though it were being reborn. This has side effects of memory loss and fragmentation, but it's highly effective in the prevention of DER. The reboot process can be repeated multiple times to further the odds of survival. It is not currently known how many times a human consciousness can be rebooted, but scientists estimate it to be around 20. The second preventative measure to DER is to program certain humanisms within exos. As machines, they have not the physical needs to eat or reproduce like real humans, but artificially injecting that drive has been clinically proven to reduce the odds of DER. Further experimentation is required to perfect the EXO project, but you can be assured that Clovis Bray is at the forefront in the field of exoscience.
So there could be the possibility that Cayde would get rebooted if something went wrong, but he wouldn't remember anything. Just picture how sad that would be, right? We have this awesome personality in the tower, he's always making jokes and things like that, and a reboot would basically factory reset him. Something similar to this has happened to Cayde right before he joined the EXO program. As he made the transformation from human to EXO, he did in fact lose his memory and couldn't really recall any events in his past life. Some items obtained in Destiny 2 tell us that he found one of his journals or some type of messages, and he learned that he had a son named Ace, and he did have a wife. He ended up writing letters to his son Ace, even though he is most likely long dead, and looks for hidden information on his past. Now this could be the same situation if Cayde was rebooted, and I'm not even sure he'd be part of the Vanguard anymore. Plus, if Bungie did something that drastic with Cayde, I feel like they would just kinda kill him off instead. Now of course this is speculation, all based off of those audio files, but it seems like they've definitely thought about a major character death or some type of transformation. So before we wrap this up, I want to talk about that EXO dialogue you heard and discuss a few things that AI guy mentioned. So the audio gave us a nice little insight on how Clovis Bray created the exos. They took these human minds and put them into these exo robotic bodies so that they can help defend humanity. Some issues did arise though, and they called this DER, dissociative exobody rejection. Basically, these human minds rejected their new exo bodies, and this eventually led to their death. There were two ways to fix this issue. First was a reboot, and the second was humanisms. This would be things like making the exo feel more human by injecting certain drives for eating or reproduction. So there is something pretty funny that the AI mentions. He says that Bray scientists predict the maximum number of reboots that can be performed is around 20. So 20 is a lot of reboots, you lose your memory and you don't remember anything from your past reboots. Now with all that in mind, look at Banshee44, that guy's had 44 reboots. Alright, before I go Guardians, I wanted to give you an update on some information on the game I'm creating. So I made an announcement in one of my previous videos saying that we needed some voice actors. Now I've read through a bunch of emails and found a couple of people I feel fit well with the characters we have, but the thing is we still need a couple of more voices. So here is a description of the characters we are currently looking for so you can get an idea of what they would sound like. So first of all, this is a third-person zombie shooter campaign, and here's what we need. The first character is Damon. He's a mentor type character that leads the main player and has a deeper voice. When I think about him, I think of characters like Snake from Metal Gear Solid, maybe not as serious, but around the same type of voice. Next we have Isaac. He is the brother of the main character and he is younger than the main character, in his early 20s or so. Third and lastly, we have Rain. This is the main bad guy. He's got a deep and gritty voice and is sort of a maniac. When I think about this character, he kind of reminds me of Far Cry 3's villain. You know, he's insane, he has all these weird quotes, and you can just sort of hear the craziness in his voice.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Now those are the three main parts I needed this exact moment, but I also need various background parts. This would be things like people getting hit, running away, dying, you know, random sounds to play while the character's running through missions. So if you're interested, you can send me an email over at destinyguides@yahoo.com and make sure to include examples of your voice. Now if you don't have any clips of your voice, I provided a sample script in the description to get you started. Otherwise you can read anything you want, it doesn't really matter. I just want to hear what your voice sounds like. And lastly, I do plan on paying those who get a voice part, but keep in mind this is my first game and I'm doing most of this stuff by myself, so we don't have some huge AAA budget. Anyway, Guardians, that's all I have for today's video. Do you think anything will happen to Cayde 6, or did Bungie scrap this idea and left the dialogue in the game's data files? If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for some more awesome Destiny 2 news and entertainment. I'm Cayde, and I'll catch you Guardians in the next one.